Don't be afraid, just believe. This is something Jesus tells us again and again. Fear and doubt can trip us up in our walk with God. Let's take a look at what fear did to Peter and how faith helped him out one evening. The disciples were in a boat, rowing across the lake after a long day of listening to Jesus teach. The water was calm at first, but as the night went on, the wind began to howl, and the waves grew taller. The boat rocked back and forth, and the disciples clung tightly to the sides, their hearts pounding with fear. Suddenly, one of them shouted,
"Look, what's that?"
Disciples squinted into the dark, stormy night. There, walking on the water, was a figure glowing softly in the moonlight. At first, they were terrified.
"Look, what's that?"
Someone cried, but then the figure spoke. "Take courage, it is I, don't be afraid." The disciples froze, recognizing the voice.
"It's Jesus!"
They whispered. Peter, always the bold one, stood up in the boat.
"Lord, if it's really you, tell me to come to you on the water."
Come, Peter believed Jesus' word and stepped out of the boat. His foot touched the water and it didn't sink. Then his other foot stepped out, and before he knew it, Peter was walking on the water toward Jesus.
"I'm walking!"
Peter shouted in amazement, but then Peter felt the wind whipping against his face and saw the big, crashing waves. Fear crept into his heart.
"What if I fall?"
thought. And in that moment, doubt filled his mind, and Peter began to sink.
"Lord, save me!"
Peter cried out. Immediately, Jesus reached out and grabbed Peter's hand. "Why did you doubt? You were doing so well," Jesus asked gently. Peter realized his mistake. He had taken his eyes off Jesus and let fear in. But when he believed again, he and Jesus walked back to the boat together on water. What can we learn from Peter? Peter walked on water because he believed Jesus' words and stepped out in faith, even though walking on water seemed impossible. But when Peter looked away from Jesus and focused on the scary waves, fear made him doubt, and he started to sink. When Peter called out to Jesus, he believed again and walked back on water. So Peter walked, sank, and walked again. He walked when he believed what Jesus said. He sank when he focused on the storm. He walked again when he trusted Jesus. Here's what that teaches us. Fear is when you believe and act on what the devil or negative thoughts say. Faith is when you believe and act on what God says. Some people think their problems are caused by Satan, but it is really just fear. Fear whispers things like, "You can't do this. What if you fail? What if it's too hard?" Fear is one of the sneakiest tricks the devil uses to keep us from getting all the good things God has for us. It's not that the devil is super powerful, it's that he teams up with fear to stop us. Think of fear like a scout who runs ahead, trying to scare you away from the blessings God has already opened for you. But here's the good news, God has given you something way stronger than fear. Romans 8:15 says you haven't been given a spirit that makes you a slave to fear. Instead, you've been given the spirit of adoption, God's spirit. That means you're part of God's family, and you can call him Abba, Father. That's like saying, "Daddy, help me." And fear shows up. You can choose to kick it out and say, "I choose faith instead." Faith means saying, "I believe what God says no matter what." Think about all the times you've had amazing things happen in your life. Most of those moments happened because you chose to believe God and didn't let fear win. So what should you do when fear comes knocking? Imagine you're about to take a test at school, and a little voice in your head says,
"What if I fail? What if I forget everything?"
That's fear trying to stop you. Instead, you can choose faith. Say,
"I studied, and God has given me a strong mind. I believe I can do this."
Then go in and do your best. Or maybe you want to try out for the school play or join the soccer team. But fear whispers,
"What if you're not good enough? What if people laugh at you?"
Instead, you can choose faith. Say,
"God is with me, and I'll give it my best shot."
and then go ahead and try. Even when you feel scared about something at home, like standing up for the truth or apologizing when you make a mistake, fear might say,
"They won't forgive you. You look silly."
that's fear lying to you. Instead, choose faith and say,
"God helps me do what's right, and everything will be okay."
fear is like a roadblock, trying to stop you, but faith gives you the courage to step forward. So, whenever fear tries to creep in, remember Peter on the water and choose to trust God. Say it out loud with me. I choose faith, and I shun fear.
I choose faith, and I shun fear.
Now go and face your day with faith. See you next time.